The Dynasty season may be over, but there's a lot of degenerates out there that are jumping into a startup right now. Well, good news is we've got the mock draft to help you dominate your leagues. Let's go.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Dynasty After Dark, and this is going to be the last episode of the podcast until after the NFL playoffs. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break, and it's going to be useful. We're going to be going into and going through our rankings and everything like that. But before we get into all of that, and I'll give you guys an update for everything. Before we get into that, I'm your host, Calvin Timms, my co-host, Dale Terry, and you can find us over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin and at Dynasty_Dale. And we're excited, man. We're diving into the 2024 draft class, and it's going to be a good one. I have a pretty good feeling about it. But how are we doing today, Dale?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm really excited about today's topic, and for what we're going to be doing here in the coming weeks. So, I mean, we are all. I feel we are all unfortunately degenerates in the Dynasty community, and we are suckers for startup drafts and for our rookie drafts too. Like we just love drafting.
Yes.
It's fun. It's fun. Like we can play NFL GM, like we
Yep.
all feel we should be, and
Dude,
it's all in
being
good
an
fun.
actual GM would suck. Like
It would be
trying
horrific. Yes,
calling
it'd be
the
horrific
agents.
and extremely stressful.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Like, could you imagine having a 20-minute phone call with an agent about one line in a contract being make or break for their client? It's like,
Yep.
dude, that would be so stressful. It'd
Yep.
be so stressful.
I agree.
But like you said, playing GM on TV, that's where it's fun for
Oh,
all
it's
of
fun.
us. But
It is very fun.
yeah, it's we're gonna be going through a mock draft here today, and it's gonna be a one quarterback mock draft for startup leagues. Again, for all you degenerates out there. I have actually gone through and updated my overall rankings for 3 positions. I've got the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends right now. Still working on running backs, and that's going to be a tricky one. The running back marketplace is not great right now.
It's sketchy to be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
But the good news is I've actually gone through, I'm just looking here. I've gone through 60 wide receivers so far. I've gone through 50 quarterbacks and 30 tight ends. And I stopped at 30 because nobody cares at that point. After 30, nobody really cares. But we're going to probably jump into some quarterback, like positional rankings breakdowns after the break. And again, I mentioned it at the top, but we're going to be taking a break for the actual NFL playoffs. We're going to enjoy football for what it is. We're finally done with our dynasty leagues. Hopefully you guys won some titles out there. I got knocked out in the semifinals and it was rough. I would have won. Yeah. I would have won the finals, man. I was the highest scorer on the week, the finals week. So that is the worst way to go to get third when you could have won. Yes. That is the worst.
Yep.
But hopefully you guys got some victories out there, and we're going to be helping you guys retool for next year. And I'm kind of changing the way I'm looking at the breakdowns of my rosters. I kind of was a little naive for some of them before, and in terms of what to target and what the actual problems and strengths of my rosters are. And I'm trying to fine tune that process a little bit more this upcoming season. So I'm tweaking things a little bit, but we're going to get into all of that after the break. We're going to have rookie rankings, our initial 2024 rookie rankings. We're watching a lot of film on these guys, breaking them all down. And that's where it gets really fun because it's a really good quarterback class. It's a really good wide receiver class. Even some tight ends are sneaky deep in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a running back class. We'll know by the time that the break actually is over because everyone will have declared by that point. January 15th here in just a couple of weeks is the declaration date. So, it'll be coming up quick and hopefully all your favorite players declare for the NFL draft. But we're going to have all that again after the break and positional rankings, trade topics, player individual breakdowns. If there's any content that you guys are really looking forward to in the offseason, hit us up in the comments down below on YouTube or hit us up on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale, or the podcast at FF After Dark. And we'd be happy to kind of build a podcast around some of that stuff as well, or tweak some of the stuff that we've been doing in the past to incorporate what you guys are looking for out there. So that said, thank you guys for this longer intro. We're going to jump into it really quickly here. And again, we're doing a one quarterback mock draft here. And it's going to be one quarterback, two running backs, two receivers, a tight end. We're going a little bit deeper with 3 flex, and we're going to have 3 bench spots just because after about 10, 12 rounds, it gets really sketchy, I guess is the best way to say it, in terms of the actual ADP versus real life and everything like that. We're going to be doing these the entire offseason long. Once we get rookies in Sleeper, we're going to be doing this on Sleeper. So once we get rookies in there as well, that's going to be really fun to see where those guys go. And again, I've kind of incorporated a few rookies into my rankings, but for the exercises of this, I'm going to be taking them out for this podcast. But Marvin Harrison Jr. might surprise you how high I have him. So we'll just say it that way. So that said, let's jump into it. We randomized the team order. I randomized, I got 7 overall. Dale got 11. It's going to be fun to see how this goes because we're kind of close, but not too close as well.
Exactly.
So, any last thoughts before we jump into this?
Hey, I'm ready to get into it. Let's go.
All right. So real quick, I guess, what is your typical strategy for a startup? Do you go into it with a set strategy, or do you kind of just roll with it, how it kind of feels out?
I would say yes. I mean, I feel if you pick early on in that league, if you're trading for those picks and stuff like that in your startup, I think you either kind of go into it is if you get a really good deal for one of those higher picks, and you're able to kind of build your team like that. And I mean, I would prefer to kind of move down if I'm like the 1-3, 1-2. In that range, I would prefer to move down a little bit so I can accumulate more players and more higher end players personally. So I mean, and with that, I kind of feel that puts me more, I'm not necessarily win now year 1, but I'm setting myself up for year 2 to 4 to 5.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely with you in terms of the trade down method. I like to trade back at those future first because they're never cheaper than in a startup. So
100%.
Just keep that in mind. If you are doing a startup right now, 2024 first round picks are going to be as cheap as possible, or 2025, I guess. Now that we're in 2024, I guess. But future picks are never going to be as cheap as they are now. And you can set yourself up really well if you kind of punt on year 1. You're going to have a lot of people out there that are like, oh, you can't do that because most dynasty leagues crumble after 3 years. And I don't know where this is kind of one of those like misnomers that everyone says, and I don't know where it came from, but I have been in, 6 dynasty leagues for the last 5 years, the same 6 for about 4 years now. Like, there's no sign of any of them crumbling or anything like that. You have a couple of guys shift out, and maybe that's why they think that, oh, I left, so the whole league crumbled. But
right.
It's pretty easy to replace these guys. And I don't know, I do higher dollar leagues, so maybe it's, most people don't like to just pump their money. Like if you're doing a $10 league, I don't blame people for quitting those too much. But if you're doing a little bit higher, get a little bit more skin in the game, guys. So, all right, I'm going to stop rambling. Go ahead.
Well, and I think kind of off on that, I don't do as high dollar leagues as what Calvin does, but like I feel that it can still be a low money league, but you get good people and it makes it fun.
That's hard to tell though if you don't know these people. If it's a group of people that's much easier. If it's a bunch of randoms, it needs to be higher dollar in my opinion.
That's fair, but I was in a league where I had a couple guys kind of start their own league, and like I was invited to that. And I feel that's fun because I've got to know them, I've got to talk with them, and that makes it enjoyable in both leagues because you kind of have that, back and forth with them.
Yeah, and that's where I would say join Dynasty After Dark leagues. We don't do that. So don't come looking to us. All right, let's get this going, and we're gonna kick it off here. So again, I'm the 1-7, and I've got the draft board pulled up on YouTube, on Rumble if you've got it. But oh boy, this is gonna be fun because the way that the ADP is right now has not caught up to what I think
Oh,
it's going to be.
not at all. Not at all.
Garrett Wilson going at 6 overall. So Christian McCaffrey 101, Jefferson at 102, Jamar Chase at 103, Patrick Mahomes at 104 on a one quarterback.
That's
I could see
wild.
him being a first round pick, but not
Definitely
maybe
at
Josh Allen at
104.
this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But no, it's not counting down the time. That's cool. I got 2 minutes forever. But Bijan Robinson at 5, Garrett Wilson at 6. That leaves me very easily. I'm going to very quickly take CeeDee Lamb at 7, and that's going to be a no-brainer.
I think the argument there would be between CD and AJ Brown,
I
and
have
it
CD as
sounds
my number 2 overall wide receiver right
yep.
now in my rankings
I think
above
that's
Justin Jefferson. So, for me, it's a smash. So, yeah, CeeDee Lamb is just set up for a long career of success there in Dallas, I think. So,
yeah, no, and I totally get that. So,
all right, AJ Brown goes after that. Josh Allen at 9, Jonathan Taylor at 10. Interesting. I think I'd take Breece Hall over JT right now, but if I was taking a running back, but man, in a one quarterback, that's where it gets really interesting because, typically in a super flex, the entire first round is quarterbacks, right?
Quarterbacks, yes.
And you have maybe 3 or 4 other positions. This one, it's 2 quarterbacks already, but I would not be shocked if you were doing a one quarterback startup if they didn't take a single quarterback until round 2 or 3 or 4 even. So, who are you thinking here with your pick?
I'm between Amon-Ra or Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I am. I really thought about Breece Hall, but I'm gonna see if he can make it past the turn.
Okay.
I think that's kind of what I'm gonna bet on. I think I'm gonna take I really want to take Amon-Ra here, but I
Okay.
think I'm gonna take I think I'm gonna take Tyreek because I know he's a weekly winner
Mm-hmm.
and he has these boom games. He's very consistent. I'm not
He's
saying that
crazy good.
Amon-Ra's not, but I mean, I feel that I can have a couple good years with Tyreek and feel really good about it. I can always potentially try to trade him, at the end of the season if I wanted to, but I don't always look to trade when I'm picking. But I'm going to take Tyreek the Freak Hill, that pick.
Yeah, and I do have him one spot ahead of Amon-Ra right now in my rankings, and it's nothing to do against Amon-Ra. Tyreek's older, I get it, but the dude is he's so freaking good. And as long as you can just lean on him, I think he's a league winner for the next 2 years. And, everyone's saying, oh, well, he might retire after that, but he could also decide to stay. So,
yes.
Tyreek Hill, I think he deserves to be up top 5 still, even given his age, but yeah, he's someone that's definitely special. So Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts at the turn. Jalen Hurts is someone that I would be taking over Patrick Mahomes currently. I don't know how you feel about him, but yeah, Patrick Mahomes at 4, man. Sleeper's ADP is going to need a massive update.
It's very, very interesting. Yes, no, I agree. So here I'm thinking about either Breece Hall or Amon-Ra. I've thought about Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think I like Breece Hall with him. I feel he's the guy in New York compared to Gibbs. I think it's going to be a little bit of a timeshare still.
Fair enough.
So the biggest worry here is I have to wait a lot of picks until I pick it. I have to wait 20 something picks to be able to pick again, and I'm kind of worried about the running back position. With having 2 running backs. But it would be a nice stack having Hill and Amon-Ra, but I know I can get good wide receivers a little bit later, and I don't necessarily have that availability with running backs because there's a big tier fall off, I feel.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm gonna go with Breece Hall.
Fair enough. I don't blame you. Jalen Waddle at 2-3, Travis Kelce at 2-4. Amon-Ra goes 1 pick in front of me. I would have smashed him if he was there.
Yes, you would have.
Now, I have the same pick dilemma as you do in terms of going with Jahmyr Gibbs, for example, or some of these other guys. Now, this is where you can play a little bit of the ADP game because my rankings, right, don't necessarily match up with ADP. For example, I am much lower on Jalen Waddle now than at 2-3 for reference, right? So there's a guy that's on my top 10. He's in my top 8, tier 2 player for me that is much lower down in terms of ADP, and I'm going to see how far I can wait before I have to snag him. But I think I'm going to be able to get a top 10 wide receiver much later on. So that said, Chris Olave is interesting. He's my number 12 wide receiver right now. If you take out the rookies, he's at 11. So he's enticing, but I do think I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs for kind of the same reasoning that you gave as well. It's just, man, he's so good and he's so involved that it's hard to pass him up right now.
Yes, it is.
All right, so after Jahmyr, Austin Eckler, Chris Olave, Nick Chubb, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Justin Herbert, Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, Justin Herbert at 212. Man, this sleeper ADP. T. Higgins at 3.3, Devonta Smith at 3.4, Devontae Adams at 3.5, and Najee Harris at 3.6. So that leaves me on the clock here. And if I'm looking at the board, Joe Burrow's interesting. Lamar Jackson is interesting. Lamar Jackson, man, that dude is so good. He's my number 5 Dynasty, one spot ahead of Joe Burrow. Oh man, that's enticing here.
It really is.
Yeah. Looking at the running backs, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Ramondre, Mixon, Javonte. It fell off so hard, man.
So quick, yes, so quick.
Kenneth Walker's interesting, I guess. It's tough to choose between him and Lamar. DK Metcalf for wide receivers, and if I'm looking, I need to combine these tiers. That's the one thing I haven't done yet with my personal rankings, but I need to finish running back first. DK Metcalf, I do have him as my number 10 wide receiver. I think I'm just gonna slam DK, man. I like DK. He's still young enough, and I think that Lockett is kind of been supplanted by JSN, and I think it's going to be JSN and DK Metcalf, the combo going forward. So I like that a lot. Joe Burrow goes right after Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, and then you're on the clock, sir.
Yeah, no, I like that. So, and I think I really love Lamar right here. I think he could be a slam dunk. I mean, I love Jason. I'm a homer, but I think he's a quarterback away personally. But but that's a whole different story.
And that's where I think DK is safe, right? Because he doesn't necessarily need a good quarterback. He's just throw me the ball and I will take it.
Catch it. Yes. So, I also really like, I'm a Justin Fields guy, but I feel it's a little early for him, and there are other quarterbacks that I feel are safer than Fields.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm down on Fields right now is just the unknown of Chicago, right?
Yes,
that's
100%.
the scary part. But
100%. So I think, I don't feel I have to take a quarterback here because I know Team 12 probably isn't going to take one because they have already taken Jalen Hurts at the 2-1. So, I can be a little frisky here. And I think I'm going to go with onesie positions here. And I'm going to do Mark Andrews.
Ooh.
Here, yes. Kyle Pitts scares me right now. I don't know if Arthur Smith is going to be back. I could take Laporta. I didn't even really think of Laporta, actually.
His ADP, again, this is where the ADP comes in interesting.
Yeah, it is off. That is true.
Laporta is down currently at 111. That is so low for him.
That's wild to me. That's wild.
This is gonna be fun to track. So if you guys are watching this right now and you're like, "Oh, this is so dumb," well,
I am going to smash. I'm gonna smash Sam Laporta here. I'm just gonna go ahead and take him.
Right after JSN goes at the turn. Now you guys are saying, "Oh, this is dumb." But this is the point, guys. If you're doing a startup right now, this is the ADP that they're using.
Yeah,
nobody has updated their ADP. So we want to walk through this with you guys to kind of see where the values are and see, who's the sneaky guys that are going to jump up there or who's not a good pick here, right? Now, obviously, this is a little bit exaggerated because most of the time, if you're doing a startup right now, either you're a degenerate like us where you love to have startups or you're someone who is enticed by the whole dynasty concept and you're someone that could get easily fleeced, right? Well, that's what this is about. And, it'd be much better if we had 12 actual people. Maybe sometime this offseason we'll try and do a live one, but where we can answer questions and everything like that. And I think that, in a live one, a lot of these guys like Najee Harris wouldn't be nearly as high as he is, but
Yep.
other than that, I could see all of these picks being pretty much where they are. Najee's kind of and Saquon are probably the two that are a little bit outlandish to me. So
Hmm.
again,
Yep.
Laporta by come May or
Yeah,
June, he's going to be much
it's
higher.
gonna
But
change. Yeah, yeah, and I feel for a lot of people, he's the dynasty tight end one right now.
right,
I was kind of I thought about matching him up with Lamar.
oh yeah,
I felt really confident that that team 12 wasn't going to take a quarterback.
hmm
Um, I'm trying to I'm trying to take a onesie position there. So I was either between Andrews and Laporta. I really wanted JSN as well, but obviously he took JSN there. But I'm going to smash Lamar Jackson here with my fourth pick.
ooh. Got him there. Derrick Henry goes right after. And this is where the ADP will massively shift. Quentin Johnson, there's no
Hmm.
chance he'll be a fourth round pick. I love Quentin Johnson, and I'm not even close to that for him. I have him at like wide receiver 50 right. And that's because I need to see something in this upcoming offseason. But, Ramondre is the other guy where I need him to kind of come back healthy because I think he's a free agent as well. So, um, yeah, it's a little scary out there, but yeah, definitely it's worth it if you can get into one right now with a good handle on it, where
Yep.
we're kind of giving you some advice. But yeah, that's it's always fun there. Now, the guy that I'm going to take here at 6, I'm going to secure my quarterback, and that's going to be CJ Stroud. And I have him
Ooh, I
right
like
behind
that.
Joe
I
Burrow
like
in my
that.
rankings, in my tier 2 guys. I have him above Lawrence and Fields and these other guys, and I just trust CJ Stroud right now. I think that
Yeah,
the potential for Stroud is insane. So
agreed.
after him, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Debo Samuel, Christian Watson, surprising, Joe Mixon, Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Damian Pierce. That's another one that's going to disappear
That's
from this
that's
as
going to
well.
change quickly. Yes,
Yep.
quickly.
Jerry Judy at 5'4", TJ Hawkinson at 5'5". I think TJ is going to be
I
an
I
amazing value
I
in
th- he
startups.
I think he will, yes, because of the ACL
Yep.
MCL injury that he had, and he's going to be out most of next year anyways. So I think he's going to go a lot later because of that.
Yep. And then Jordan Addison goes one pick before me, which leaves me, dude, this is just so perfect. My number 9 wide receiver in my new rankings, and that's going to be Mr. DJ Moore.
DJ
DJ
Moore,
Moore's been insane, dude. He's so freaking good for this team. I
yes,
hope they keep Fields and that connection and everything. But Caleb Williams or Fields doesn't matter. I think DJ Moore is going to eat next year. So I am all aboard DJ Moore. Back
yeah.
on board the DJ
I
Moore
could
hype train.
I completely agree. He's really shown his value in having competent quarterback play and
Yeah, just make
competence.
him make him the
Yeah,
primary
yeah,
weapon, right?
yeah. Yes, and he is.
He's getting the
And
the Kelsey treatment where it's just like the
yes,
ball's going to him,
it's
but you
just him.
can't
Yes,
stop
it's
it.
just him. Yes, yes, absolutely.
So after DJ Moore, Javonte Williams, George Pickens, J.K. Dobbins, another guy that's going to
That's
disappear
gonna
off this.
change, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yep,
poor J.K. He's probably done. I mean, I don't know if many people will draft him
he
before
might
round
be.
20,
That is true.
but yeah, J.K. went off the board, leaving you on the clock. Who you got here?
I'm gonna go with a wide receiver here. I've been talking about a lot of Ravens today. Um,
Your
and
new
I'm
favorite
I'm kind
team.
of between I'm kind of between like three guys here. With Zay Flowers, I really like Michael Pittman and what he's done this year, and I think with Anthony Richardson having another year of growth and just learning the NFL, getting just getting more knowledge on that, I think that's going to be very helpful to him. And he's going to pepper Pittman next year.
Yeah.
And then I also thought about Brandon Ayuk, but with that San Francisco offense, I feel there's just a lot of guys. I mean, they're high quality guys, but you just never know which guy it's going to be that on that given week, unfortunately.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with Zay Flowers. I think I believe with I mean he's been helped with Andrews being out,
hmm
but I still think he was one of Lamar's highly targeted guys, even with Andrews on the field.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So Zay Flowers goes, DeAndre Swift right after, Terry McLaurin. Now you're back on the clock and have your choice
Yeah.
of whoever you would like to go here.
Yes. So I could go running back, but I really hate all the running backs right now. They're all kind of.
I know,
horrible and
right?
terrifying and really terrifying. So, I think I'm gonna wait on some of those guys, and I feel I can get a lot of value there.
Mm-hmm.
Like a guy like Devon Achan could be very interesting. But I think I'm gonna play the ADP game in sleeper right now, and kind of wait on him. Is what I'm gonna do. So I think for wide receiver, I'm looking at wide receiver again. I have my choice between Pittman and Ayuk. So I mean, it all depends who I really feel good about. And I think I'm going to go with a guy that's gonna be really that he's really gonna be the number one in that offense, and Michael Pittman. And I feel good about him being my third wide receiver compared to him being my second.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you're going to be so mad with my next pick because, again, this is ADP. Take advantage of this because,
Yo,
again, if you're in a draft right now, and you're specifically a sleeper draft, right? Everyone's looking at the same picks. And most of the time, people don't scroll that far down. You'll
they
scroll a
don't.
little bit
That's
down, right?
true.
You'll go, oh, quarterbacks. I see the top 5 guys, top 8 guys. Okay, I'm going to look at those guys. Maybe you'll scroll one time. This next pick, you had to scroll so far just to even see him, right? And he gets lost in the shuffle. Trey McBride, tight end, Arizona
I love
Cardinals.
that. I love that.
And he's my number 4 tight end going forward. Like the dude has just shown out. I think he's here to stay.
Yeah,
And I think, his ADP is just so far down and it's going to
it
change.
really
But,
is.
as of right now, again, take advantage of that and secure your guy
Yeah,
while you
yeah.
can.
No, I definitely love that, and I think Kyler's gonna be back next year, and
Mm-hmm.
Kyler loves his tight ends. Like we saw that with Dan Arnold, Zach Ertz for a little bit, and then now with Trey McBride. I think that's a fantastic pick.
All right, now this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Dallas Goedert, Isaiah Pacheco, Miles Sanders, Rashad White, dang, a run on running backs here.
Hmm.
Cam Akers, Aaron Jones, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper. I was hoping Amari would make it back to me. Keenan Allen, Dalton Kincaid, DeAndre Hopkins, and Jahan
Hmm.
Dotson. So I'm done with quarterback. I get it, it's
Hmm.
one quarterback. I don't really want to maybe I'll get another guy here in a couple rounds just to
Yeah.
secure that position. But, you look at the running backs that are on the board, Alexander Madison, Dalvin Cook, you scroll a little bit, like I just mentioned, James Cook. James Cook's actually kind of interesting here. James Conner. I'm telling you all the guys who to draft too, which is great. Um, Tajay Spears is another guy. I think he's worth,
He's interesting.
he's
Yes,
very
he
interesting.
he's very interesting.
I don't need another tight end. I just got my number 4 guy, and tight end is not that sexy. Mike Evans is interesting here as well.
Hmm.
If you're looking at the wide receiver position, but I do think, and again, this would help if I had my running back rankings, but I do think I'm going to go James Cook here. I think that the value at 7-7 is just too high.
I was
This whole
Yeah,
offense has kind of shifted to actually utilize the running game,
yeah,
ironically,
it has.
at Stephon Diggs's expense, right? But
Yes.
James Cook has been a monster this back half of the year, and at 7-7, pairing him with Jahmyr Gibbs is just too easy for me to try and pass up. So
Yeah, no, I love that pick. I was going to
I
go
knew
with
you were going to
Cook.
take him too. So
Yes. Yes. Yeah. If you weren't gonna take him, I definitely was. Um, so after James Cook went Alvin Kamara, which I feel that's gonna change as well. Travion Burks and Pat Fryermuth went right before me. So I'm looking at running back. I could go fun with Devon Achan, but he's just having a hard time staying on the field at this
yeah,
point,
yep.
and it's really frustrating. And there's not a lot of guys that I really like on here, but with it being a two running back, you know, I have Brees, which I feel Brees is going to be pretty safe,
I think
for the
so.
most
Yeah.
part.
Yep.
It's for the most part. So I think I'm going to go with a guy that is going to be boom or bust here, and I'm gonna go with Devon Achan. And
Okay.
I mean I'm a Dolphins fan, so I am definitely drinking the Kool-Aid, but I see the potential for this guy. If he's on the field, he's gonna get the touches, he's gonna get the targets. Like he's gonna be the main guy as long as he's healthy.
Yep, I get it. And that's the one thing that sucks about this draft right now is I'm right in the middle of the draft.
Yep.
So I don't get the advantages of kind of securing my guys. I don't get
Yep.
to, I have to risk the ADP game a little bit more.
Yep.
But we'll talk about it here with my next pick a little bit. But there's a guy that I want to take, and I don't know if I'm going to or not. So right after you, Alexander Madison and Jameson Williams. Jameson has looked a lot better these last couple of weeks.
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Agreed.
I'm very excited for him in a year 3. And I get it. Oh, he didn't break out in year 1 or year 2. The dude's a bust. Yeah, okay. Keep sleeping on him. I mean, you can pay attention or not. So that's kind of all I want to say about that. So Jameson Williams looks a lot better, and I'm excited for year 3 with him. Who are you thinking here with your next pick, though?
I thought about Mike Evans because he's just Mr. Consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I really like him, but I also have an older guy in Tyreek Hill.
Right.
So, but I do have 2 younger guys. I've also thought about David Montgomery. I thought about him. I've also been thinking about Rashee Rice. I've
Mm.
been really liking Rashee Rice, and I feel his ADP right now is dangerously too low.
Yes, for sure. I mean, he's behind
So
Jonathan Mingo, Tyler Lockett,
yes,
Mike
a
Williams, these
lot of
other
those
guys.
guys, and I feel behind, and I especially feel if Kelsey retires this year, which I think he's going to, that like Rice is going to be the guy, and he has been the guy in recent weeks.
I
So
agree. I
um
do think that they are going to bring in another guy, but you got 15 seconds, so you can make your pick here. But
yes, so I'm gonna go with Rashee Rice, and
you
I'm
son
just
of a
I'm
gun! I was trying to deflect
yes.
because I was going to
I
take it
know.
with my next pick.
I know you were, but I like what he's doing. I feel he's a great value in the beginning of the 8th round.
Yeah,
Honestly, like I feel he should have went ahead of like Dotson, Burks,
yeah, for
like
sure.
a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I do have him. I have him above like McLaurin, Jameson, some of these other guys. I have him above George Pickens and Zay Flowers, for
Hmm.
example. But he's right there in the mix. It's not egregious. I don't think. I don't. He's one of those tough ones where I don't know how the public feels about him right now, and I think
Right.
people are slowly starting to wake up. The playoffs are really going to help that, but yeah, that was going to be my dilemma of Mike Evans or Rashee Rice. So
Yep.
unfortunately, you kind of made this one easy for me, where
I did. I did.
I'm gonna go Mike Evans here. But after Rashee Rice was Dalvin Cook, Zach Charbonnet, and
Oh,
Christian Kirk. Leaves on the board Hollywood Brown, Deontay Johnson. I really don't want Hollywood to pair with Trey McBride.
right. Right.
I think McBride is kind of the number
The
one
one.
target right
Yep.
now.
I agree. I agree with
Hollywood
that.
coming back healthy, I think he'll be able to. And I would not be shocked if this team adds Marvin Harrison Jr. this upcoming draft to pair with Kyler Murray and really give this offense a boost, which hurts Trey McBride and Hollywood, but I'll take my chances that the one guy that's not going to get hurt by this is going to be is going to be Trey McBride. So I'm going to go Mike Evans here. Deontay Johnson, I'm not a big fan of, so I'd rather not.
Right.
After Mike Evans, James Conner, he was someone that was very interesting. Kadarius Toney, Hollywood, Darren Waller, Deshaun Watson, Deontay Johnson, David Montgomery, Mike Williams, Tua finally goes off the board. I think Tua is being massively undervalued right now as
I
well.
agree.
Again,
Yes.
my updated rankings here. I actually have Tua at my quarterback 11, including Caleb Williams. So if you cut out Caleb, he would be number 10. And,
Mhm.
going this far down the board feels pretty crazy. So Gabe Davis goes right after, A.J. Dillon, and then Jonathan Mingo. Now, looking at my roster, I'm pretty close to filled out. I've got my tight end, I've got my quarterback, both running back slots filled, and I've got 4 wide receivers. And I'm feeling pretty good about it because, dude, wide receivers are just so nice right now. Now, this is where I am kind of looking at that other quarterback position. If you look at the running backs, it's nothing sexy, to be honest with you. Again, there's a few guys down there, but Ryan Robinson, Antonio Gibson, for example, they're potential, but not here that I would rather risk them over this next guy. Now, again, I'm talking a lot about these rankings, and I'm going to try and find a way to put them out there for people to see them. But right now I have CJ Stroud as my quarterback number 7, and I have Dak Prescott as my quarterback number 10. including the rookie Caleb Williams. So without him, he's my number 9, right? So getting my number 7 and number 9 quarterbacks on my board, even in a 1 quarterback in round 9, just feels too hard to pass up. So I'm going to be taking Dak here. Dak has just been so freaking good this year. I know people were worried about him with Mike McCarthy, but man, it has not mattered whatsoever for Dak in this offense. They are rolling now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I feel that's a very realistic spot to take Dak, and I mean even as your second quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so hard to pass up on that. Like, Kyler's still there, which is slightly interesting. But after that, I have a pretty big teardrop between Kyler and the next few guys there on the board. So Jordan Love is the only other one that's kind of, I think Jordan Love is going to be very interesting this upcoming offseason to see where he goes. But anyway, after Dak Prescott, Tyler Lockett, Antonio Gibson, Elijah Moore, and now you are on the clock, sir. Who are you looking at?
Right. So I'm thinking of a running back. I still like the potential of Kendra Miller, but he also terrifies me. You know, I have Chain on there with all the injury history. I don't need a guy that I feel is going to get injured quite a bit, you know, as well.
Right.
I could go Tajay Spears. He's very interesting as well. And probably going to be the lead back in Tennessee, but it's obviously a pretty bad offense right now. So, you know, that feels kind of gross. I I'm partially leaning towards like Roshan Johnson. I think he could emerge as the number 1 guy
Interesting. Okay.
over like Khalil Herbert. I don't really think that I don't think Deontay Foreman's is gonna resign there.
Yeah.
Or I could go Brian Robinson, but there's not a lot of pass catching upside.
He
You know,
caught the ball a lot this year, man. Like,
yeah.
surprisingly, but he's just disappeared the last couple of weeks. But I mean, you look at he must have been banged up or something because, you know, in week number 10 against Seattle, 6 targets, 6 catches. Week number 11, 9 targets, 7 catches. Like, the guy has 40 targets on the year. I get it, he's more of a ground and pounder, but I mean, he's been getting a ton of usage through the passing game, which you love to see.
Yeah. So I end up going with Tajay Spears. I feel
Killing me.
I know I feel out of those guys that I listed that he's the safer option. You know,
Yep.
I know he has no ACLs in his knees, stuff like that. Like I've heard that all year, but he's played really well, and when he's been on the field, I feel he's pretty electric.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
honestly. So you know, I'm too scared of Kendry Miller right now to take him. You know, I would like to, but I think with my roster construction right now, you know, I feel that's probably it's a safer picks.
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah, so I'm back on the clock. A team 12 took Ryan Robinson and then Kendry Miller.
all, all the guys on my list, by the way.
I know. So I could go quarterback here. I thought about Kyler. He would be interesting.
Him and
But
Lamar is pretty nice combo.
yes,
Or
it
Jordan
really
Love even.
would. Yes, or Jordan Love. So I think I want to wait a little bit on
Okay.
that, and I want to keep filling out my roster. And you know, I do like Josh Downs, but I don't really want another Indianapolis wide receiver. Jaden Reed is very interesting. You know, I feel he has a very good connection with Jordan Love.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, he's someone that jumped
uh-huh.
up massively.
Yes.
I think
So
he's
so
being
I
massively undervalued. I have
yeah,
him at
so
go ahead.
yeah, so I'm going to end up taking Jaden Reed. You know, I kind of feel at this point that you're taking more upside
Yes.
over, you know, it's your solid everyday starter.
For sure.
So
And he was a second
yeah.
round pick, right? Like, I get
Yes,
it.
yes.
He has the draft capital. He's got the production right now. The dude is balling out, and I don't think
Yes.
enough people are catching on just yet. So
Agreed.
I think
Agreed.
he's a super sleeper that if you're listening to this podcast, go and send an offer for Jaden Reed. I think this dude is going to be a superstar
Yes.
for this team. And I like Jordan Love a lot. So I think that this is going to be a very good pick. Now, you're going to be real pissed when you see this. Again, scrolling, guys, it helps so much.
Ugh.
It helps
Yes,
so
it
much.
does.
Juju Smith-Schuster goes right after Jaden Reed. David Njoku, Khalil Herbert, and I'm going to smash. This guy's going to, I don't know where he is yet, but he's going to be a top 10 for my running back rankings, and that's going to be Kyron Williams with the Los Angeles Rams.
Ooh, yep. I would have rather had Kyron over Tajay all day.
Dude, I would have rather had Kyron over like all the guys in round 6.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. Oh my.
I told you, man. I told you.
I wasn't even thinking of Kyron.
I didn't even see him. I was scrolling down. I was like, oh my gosh, he's still here, man. That feels so good.
Pick. That was a snipe in the 10th.
We got two more picks left, but we'll recap it here for you guys. But yeah, man, that was too hard to pass up there.
Yeah.
Now the other guy I think is going to be here, and if you want to really quickly run through all the picks after Kyron for me.
Yeah. At 10-7 was Bigsby. Then we had Michael Mayer, which I would have loved Michael Mayer there. With my next pick. They have Jamal Williams, Bryce Young, Rashad Bateman, Evan Ingram, Brandon Cooks, Roshan Johnson. At 11-2, you got Marvin Mims, Rashad Penny, which has zero value now. And then Kyler Murray, which I was hoping would get back to me, and then Cole Kmet, which I feel Cole Kmet is a good, sneaky pick.
He's good.
Yes, he's very good. And I would rather have Kmet right now over Michael Mayer, I feel. I know with age, but I really feel Kmet's taken a lot of steps in the past couple years, especially with Fields.
He's top 12 for me, and whether it's Caleb Williams or Fields, again, I think Cole Kmet, they signed him to a contract. He was like one of the most untalked about contract signings of all time, where nobody was talking about that at all. But Cole Kmet. So my next pick, again, guys, scrolling and searching for these guys. Updated rankings, this guy is above Jaden Reed for me. He's above T. Higgins. He's above Chris Godwin, and that's going to be Mr. Nathaniel Tank Dell, with the Houston Texans. Get to stack him with C.J. Stroud here. Tank Dell was just so good this last year before he broke his leg.
I love that. Yes, so, I love that.
The good news, too, is he broke his leg, right? He didn't tear anything. Yes. So you're expecting him to be 100% by like OTAs and all that stuff. So he'll be fine next year. And I don't think Houston has a first round pick. They have Cleveland's, which is going to be late. So it's very possible that they go and add another wide receiver. But his connection, I mean, CJ Stroud wanted to draft Tank Dell. They asked him, who do you like? He said Tank Dell. He picked Tank Dell over a lot of bigger names this last draft. And, that connection was real this year. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So I like that, especially in round 11.
I love that. And with that, I'm going to piggyback on someone who is criminally low themselves with the Houston Texans and Nico Collins.
Yeah. So Cortland Sutton, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hyatt, then you took Nico, Tyler Algier, Michael Thomas, and now you're back on the clock. But no, Nico and Tank, dude, I think that they're going to snapshot back up, but they're
yes, they will.
Underrated.
I'm still upset about Kyron Williams. I'm trying to get over that. I really am.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find other guys, and I feel someone who should be higher, and someone that they are sharing the backfield, and it's in Pittsburgh, and with Najee Harris and the guy I'm going to pick in Jalen Warren. I feel he's really taken over the backfield, and he's not like a running back one, you could say, but he's a solid running back too, and somebody I can plug in for bye weeks and feel really good about it.
Yeah, and that's where it's going to get interesting. So this is the last round, right? So Jalen Warren, Josh Downs, Elijah Mitchell, Greg Dulcich, and now I'm back on the clock. And if you look here, dude, it's rough. Running backs are so rough. Chuba Hubbard is kind of interesting here. Carolina, they don't have a ton of money. They don't have a lot of draft capital. And Chuba has played very well this last year. And I think he's going into a contract year. Zamir White is another guy that's kind of interesting as well. It's a little bit deeper down these boards. As a 12th round pick, you're looking in the wide receivers, and, Jacoby Myers is kind of interesting here. There's really not too much. It falls off so. Oh, again, scrolling, guys, scrolling. I cannot leave without this guy. Chuba Hubbard was going to be my pick, but I got to take my boy Puka.
Puka. Oh gosh.
Scrolling,
Yeah,
guys, scrolling. I had to scroll so far to get Puka right there. His
and I'm sure
ADP
we're gonna
is
get a lot of,
nuts,
yeah.
man.
I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of comments saying like, why didn't you take Puka higher? Same with Kyron, same
Dude,
with
because I forgot he
Tank.
was there. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
problem, man.
but that's something but that's something that you can definitely take advantage of.
Oh, for sure.
And also someone else I saw. I know it's a one quarterback league. Brock Purdy was still there.
Yeah, he at one quarterback, he's right above. Oh, dude, I should have scrolled. I should have scrolled. I have him one spot ahead of Dak, so I could have taken him over Dak.
Yeah.
But yeah, Puka is currently my wide receiver number 7. So
Ooh.
I love him a lot, and
Yep.
him and Kyron. Like I'm just blinded by the Rams this year and
You
how they're
are.
using these guys,
You are, and Sean McVay. I know you are.
but I mean, they're what's going to
I know.
change? What's going to change,
I know.
right?
I know.
So
I don't disagree with that. I mean, and then with mine, I mean, obviously it's gonna be nice when this is updated. You'll be able to see these guys soon. Well, it's good and a bad thing.
yeah,
So
it's good because it's more
yeah.
accurate and you're not going to forget about the guys like we did. But at the
Hmm.
same time, everyone's going to remember about these guys and you're going to have less chance of getting them. So,
Yes.
it's devil's advocate, which side do you want to play? But yeah, Puka, dude. Puka is going to be a stud. Like, all right, so really quickly, let's recap. So after Puka, Alan Lazard, Sky Moore, John Mechie. Tell me you wouldn't rather have Puka than Jordan Addison or George
I would.
Pickens or
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle. Like Puka should
Yeah.
be high, man. He should be.
He should
Who
be.
would you
He
rather
should
have,
be.
Cooper Cup or Puka?
I would rather have Puka. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then Zeke was the final pick of the draft. But really quickly, let's recap our teams here, and you can let us know down in the comments who you liked a little bit better. Now, if we did have one more round in round 13, I was snatching the hell out of Chuba Hubbard, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
he
no,
didn't
and
make.
I mean, and if we had one more round, I would have taken a quarterback.
Yeah.
I would have, I feel like Brock Purdy probably would have been off the board by then. I would have taken a
Oh, for
veteran
sure,
quarterback.
for sure.
Like I saw Jared Goff still on there, which
Yeah.
I feel is a very solid pick.
Kirk is still there,
And
I believe, right?
Kirk is still there. I would, I think a lot of those guys in the one quarterback league are still going to be there in these rounds,
Hmm.
and you'll be able to snatch those guys up,
Will Levis
and
is probably
yeah,
still there.
he will still be there.
Will Levis, dude, is gonna. I
He
am.
will still be there.
I am
I'm
unnaturally high on Will Levis. Probably. I mean, he's at 19. It's not like I'm stupidly high
true.
on him, but I mean, I think he's good, man. I really do. All right, C.J. Stroud for my quarterback, and I also had Dak Prescott. Running backs, I had Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook. I had Kyron Williams, and that was it. I only had 3 running backs through 12 rounds, which I don't think is too bad. CeeDee
It's really
Lamb,
not, no.
CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, and Tank Dell and Puka Nakua. Dude, tell me this roster's not winning year 1, dude. Year
It
1.
probably is.
And then Trey
And
McBride is my tight end.
yes.
This roster is nuts, dude.
Yes,
Nuts.
yes, yes. And thank you, Sleeper, for your ADP. I really appreciate it, and it's
Yep.
fantastic. So,
Dude, don't
uh,
even. You sniped me on a couple guys. I don't.
I did.
I told you about Sam Laporta.
I know. Yeah, 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 yeah.
You're welcome.
I was gonna be really happy with Andrews, but
To be fair,
honestly,
to you, I actually do have Andrews one spot ahead of Laporta
mhm.
in my rankings. So, I get the hype on Laporta, and
Right.
he's so good,
But also on that gave my roster a little bit of freedom to take Zay Flowers,
oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
who I would have on my roster a lot longer than Andrews, and I like pairing up wide receivers and quarterbacks or
Mhm.
tight ends
Yeah,
and quarterbacks, but I don't think you want to have so many of those players on the team.
yeah, that's fair.
I feel it's different with like Puka and Kyron, which I feel you can play every week. I mean, at least for this year, you were able to do that.
Yeah, it's true.
So
I didn't even pay attention to
so
that, but I don't even care. Like, just give them to me, dude. They're too good to pass
exactly,
up.
exactly. So on my roster, I obviously had at quarterback, I only had one guy in Lamar Jackson. In my running back room, I have Brees Hall, Devon Achane. I also have Tajay Spears and Jalen Warren, which I feel is a very solid r- running back room. With my wide receivers, I have Tyreek Hill, Zay Flowers, Michael Pittman, Rashee Rice, and Jalen Reed and Nico Collins, which I feel that's another fantastic, wide receiver room. It probably rivals yours pretty good in my
I think
opinion.
so. I mean, I have
So
a few more top 10 guys, but that's my rankings, not consensus, right? So,
right, right, and it's all solid guys that are going to
yeah,
start.
for sure.
It's a mixture of vets, but there are also a lot of younger guys
Oh
too.
yeah,
So
definitely, definitely.
I think that's definitely a draft strategy is either getting super young guys or you getting more older guys.
Right.
I feel everybody has their own opinions, but and then at tight end, I'll only have one player in Sam Laporta, who is most people's tight end one.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like your squad as well.
Yeah, thanks.
And again, if you would have gotten Kyler Murray instead of Jalen Warren or something, I do think you have a little bit
Yes.
of an edge at technically in my rankings, you have an edge at quarterback, right? With Lamar over
Mm-hmm.
Stroud in a one
Yep.
quarterback. Having Dak is nice, but it's not critical, right? So you have an edge there. You have an edge at tight end. I have
Yeah.
Laporta over McBride, and then you've got an edge at running back probably. So I think I just
Mm-hmm.
have a at flex and wide receiver. But yeah, again, I love this. I love, dude. I'm about to go join a startup, guys. It's hit me.
Do it. Do it. Do
I
it. You might as
probably
well.
no, I couldn't. I need a hey, co-manage for me, and we'll
That's
we'll
true.
talk. We'll talk. But
Hey,
all right, let us know your guys' thoughts. And again, we did this because we wanted to showcase, especially for everybody out there that's doing a startup right now. Understand the ADP of the platform that you're using. None of it is updated. None of it. You're gonna have guys that are disappearing, and we're on top of it. I have rankings up here, and I still forgot to. I assumed that Puka was
yeah.
gone, 6 rounds ago because we're flying through this thing quickly. Now, of course, you're on a slow draft. You can add these guys to queue and all that stuff, and it's a little bit easier to track all that stuff. But man, the values that you can get right now are just insane. Future draft
Immense.
picks,
Yes.
the players, if you're looking for an updated value chart from us, let me know. I actually put a trade value to all of these guys as
Ooh.
well. So I broke them out into tiers. I ranked all the positionals. I got all the positional rankings done, and then I broke them into trade value per position as well. So, or per tier essentially. So, yeah, if you're looking for any of that, hit us up one more time on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale. We can get to each other if you guys have any questions, and we'll get them answered for sure. So we appreciate you guys, especially all the new YouTube commenters and subscribers and everything. We're over 200 now, which is awesome. Thank you guys so
What?
much. I remember watching it go from 1 to 2 when I was thrilled, like, oh, somebody
Yeah.
actually cared to subscribe that wasn't me. So but no, we appreciate it. We're going to be growing all off season long, especially as the NFL draft comes around, and that's going to be so much fun after the break. Hopefully you guys enjoy the playoffs and there's no controversies like there probably unfortunately will be, but
There will be. Yeah.
we're going to have a good time. The playoffs are going to be real quick. We'll end it like this. Who do you think is going to win the playoffs? Win the Super Bowl?
Oh, win the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a matchup that we saw a couple weeks ago on Monday night with the Ravens against the Niners.
Ooh, okay.
It's number one seeds. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
But I think it's going to be really competitive playoffs. But I really think the Ravens are the best team, and they've shown it all year.
I think it's going to be the Browns. I think the Browns are going to make it. I
I
think they're going to
love that.
run
I
the
love that,
AFC.
and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw the Browns beat the Ravens and
Yeah.
Joe Flacco beating
Oh,
his
dude,
former
it's
team.
possible.
It's going to be poetic, and I did say this last year that the Browns had the best roster in the NFL.
Dude, if the Ravens do win, we'll end on this, but if
Yep.
the Ravens win, I'm gonna be so mad because last year I predicted them as the Super Bowl winners. I'm
Yeah,
like, dude. And then they
I
looked
know.
terrible last year, and it was mostly due to injury and all that stuff. But I was just like, dude, if they win the year after I call for them to win, I'm gonna be so mad.
Right, right.
But all right, that said, thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you guys again. Hit us up on Twitter, subscribe, like, all that stuff. We're going to be back here in just a couple weeks, and we're going to have so much content for you guys. We're going to be pumping out 2-3 episodes a week. I'll have bonus content, so make sure you subscribe to YouTube. I think we're going to do only bonus content on YouTube anymore, so if you're listening audio only, please go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, so you get the notifications for all that stuff for the in-season content. But there's going to be a lot of stuff, and we're excited. We've been rolling this last year, and we've grown quite a bit, and it's all thanks to you guys. So we truly do appreciate that. And again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much. Hopefully you guys smashed your leagues, but if you're looking to smash this upcoming season, hit us up and we'll help you guys out. So until next time, thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good night.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?